This picture was taken at the White House on September 13, 1993. President Bill Clinton was hosting Israeli Prime Minister Yitzhak Rabin and PLO Chairman Yasser Arafat to sign the Oslo Accord, an agreement that would begin what is now known as the peace process.
We have been granted the great privilege of witnessing this victory for peace.
Despite what it looks like, Bill Clinton actually had very little to do with the Oslo Accord. It wouldn't be until the mid to late 90s that Clinton would get more involved, just as the peace process was beginning to unravel. Since then, every US president has tried to bring peace to the Middle East. And Trump is no different. But how he plans to go about it might make a bad situation worse.
I am very pro-Israel. I've always been pro-Israel. There's nobody more pro-Israel than I am.
The first sign that Trump might mishandle the Middle East file was who he put in charge of it. Jared Kushner, his son-in-law turned senior advisor who doesn't appear to have much experience in the area. And he's not exactly a neutral player either. Kushner was running his parents' foundation at a time when it funded illegal Israeli settlements here in the West Bank. And the two people tasked with helping him are Trump's former lawyers, with few credentials other than being Orthodox Jews with connections in Israel.
It's a perfectly qualified team.
So how is that?
No, I was joking.
Okay.
And when you look at the Trump administration's policies towards Israel's occupation of Palestine, it's not hard to see what side officials are on. At the end of 2017, Trump officially recognized Jerusalem as the capital of Israel and announced that he would move the U.S. Embassy from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem.
What a glorious day. Remember this moment.
This was a big deal because both Palestinians and Israelis claim Jerusalem as their capital. The city is divided, with mainly Israelis in the west and Palestinians in the east. He also recognized another occupied territory, the Golan Heights.
It is a shift that could both have a major impact on America's relationship with the Arab world and potentially boost the political fortunes of Mr. Trump's close ally.
Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu was so thrilled that he even named a settlement there after Trump. And at the same time, Trump has cut aid to Palestinians, pulled funding from the main UN agency that provides social services to Palestinian refugees, and worked to strip them of their refugee status, all in a bid to force the Palestinians to make a deal with Israel. But Trump's all-or-nothing approach hasn't worked so far.
We have taken the decision that there will be no official communication between any Palestinian official and any American official.
The U.S. is, in lockstep with Prime Minister Netanyahu and others on the Israeli right. So now they believe that they can do what they want with U.S. support.
That's Dov Waxman. He recently wrote a book on the Israeli-Palestinian conflict.
For many years, the thing that has kind of held the right back to some extent was the caution of some of those people like Netanyahu who argued that if we go too far, we'll lose U.S. support. Well, now they don't have that concern any longer.
And over the course of the past few years, there has been a boom in illegal settlements being built in the Palestinian territories.
You're seeing the physical landscape changing as a result of Israeli settlement expansion. What's happening in Jerusalem, particularly in East Jerusalem, and there's evictions and demolitions taking place recently there. And also it's ultimately undermining the prospects for a resolution of the conflict.
Discontent on the ground has led to deadly street protests and some of the worst fighting since 2014. This is not a Trump-made problem, though. Things were bad under Obama, too. His Secretary of State, John Kerry, tried hard to get a new peace deal signed, but failed. And the two-state solution, which envisions an independent state of Palestine alongside Israel, was already dying a slow death prior to Trump even taking office. And that's because of the reality on the ground. The Palestinian leadership is divided. The PLO, which is the main group representing Palestinian people, controls the West Bank, but is suffering from a legitimacy crisis. And Hamas, a political organization and militant group that doesn't even recognize Israel's existence, controls the Gaza Strip. Then there's Israeli politics to consider. peace with Palestinians used to be a big election issue, but now it's hardly even mentioned. Over the years, support for annexing the West Bank has increased, and people's appetite for the two-state solution has waned.
In the last few years, I think one of the real shifts has been this sense of despair and hopelessness, a complete breakdown of trust, and a belief on both sides that the other is really not interested in living peacefully or accepting the other's existence even.
But despite that, in June, Jared Kushner finally revealed the first part of his Middle East peace plan.
The Peace to Prosperity vision is a modern framework for a brighter and more prosperous future.
The plan, which proposes billions of dollars in investment in the Palestinian economy over the next decade, but offers no political solutions, was boycotted by the Palestinians, barely acknowledged by Israelis, and laughed at by analysts. Partly because a lot of it was recycled from previous failed peace plans, and partly because of its very lofty goals.
In the most generous view, it's either completely naive and ill-informed, or the more less generous interpretation of it, that it is deeply cynical, and it is a kind of, if you like, a Machiavellian scheme to essentially force the Palestinians into surrender.
Apparently, a political solution will be proposed sometime in the future, but few people are holding their breaths. By blindly supporting Israel, experts agree that the Trump administration has basically forfeited its ability to act as a meaningful mediator.
So I'm looking at two-state and one-state, and I like the one that both parties like. I'm very happy with the one that both parties like.
And really, it's not up to the United States. Israelis and Palestinians hold the keys to whatever a future peace might look like.
There are still many things that can happen, that can be done by both sides, especially Israel, to reduce the conflict. Instead of just focusing on, will there be a peace agreement, we should also be paying more attention to the kind of the smaller but very important things that can be done right now.